So firstly, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're dialing from. I think we have at least kind of 5 different countries represented today. So it's really great to bring everyone together across the Start Ready kind of network to take this time together to share what we've done for the Learning Grant and share what we've learned and kind of have an opportunity to reflect together. So maybe before we start, I'll just share a bit, just more of a recap of the objective of the Learning Grant. So Jill, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide and then the next slide. Thank you. Yes, so the Learning Grant, I think you guys are all more experts than we are now because you've actually done it. But the original objective is to really kind of give and support members and implementing agencies a chance to conduct further research and learning activities related to past activations, whether that is Start Ready activations, but also National Reserves implementation. So the idea is that it should complement existing research and learning rather than kind of duplicating things that already exist, perhaps digging deeper into specific topics or addressing gaps in learning and evidencing systems. And the idea is that it should also align with the wider START network research, evidencing, and learning objectives so that together we're kind of building a cohesive evidence base for more proactive humanitarian action. Next slide, please. So today we're welcoming 7 organizations across 5 countries who have implemented Start Ready and National Reserves and sharing what they've done with the learning grants. So as you can see, there's a range of topics from learning from National Reserves preparedness activities for flood and cyclone areas in Bangladesh. There's GIRAF system builds using locally led approaches and building resilience as in the Philippines. And then there's also things done around anticipatory action protocols and looking at preparedness of heat wave and drought, which was done by the organizations in Pakistan as well as in Zimbabwe. And then for MEDAIR in Madagascar, the SOPs for beneficiary registration, targeting, and data storage. So a range of different topics, and hopefully we can kind of learn from each other across these different risks, but also different types of implementation and thematic areas. Next slide, please. So the objective of today is to really give you the floor for you to share what you've done and provide an opportunity for you to learn from each other, ask questions from each other, and kind of inspire this collective kind of reflection on what's been working well, but also what we can tackle together going forward and what we can improve. And then just to share or like a recap for the agenda for today. So we had a few introductions about today's objectives, the different organizations, and then we will go straight into presentations. So in order, humanitarian inclusion, LHDP, NDP, and then we will kind of pause for questions for the first round of presenters. And then we will go into the next round of presentations from BSDSB, Avas, MEDAIR, and Goal. And then again, a round of questions for the presenters. And then hopefully, if we have time, a bit of time to just reflect on a few prompts, and then kind of next steps and wrap up from the event. If that's okay with you, then maybe we can start with a brief icebreaker before we start with all the presentations. So if we go to the next slide, you will see instructions to join us on Slido. And so you can go to the website, enter the meeting number, or you can scan the QR code. And hopefully, when you do that, you can see the first prompt, which asks which emoji best describes your current state of mind. You can submit 1, you can submit 2, you can submit 3. We're complex human beings. We feel many things. So do feel free to put as many emojis as you think is representative of your current state of mind. And then maybe in about a minute, we can share the results and see how everyone is feeling. . Perfect, Jel. Is it all right if we move to the Slido? Ah, some quirky faces. Oh no, someone needs coffee or tea or a stretch. I like the little monoglass. Looks curious. It's great. Perfect. We'll give it another minute as I see there's some more people typing. Oh no, I think that means someone's melting in the heat. Maybe a cold drink would be helpful. But yeah, maybe just to mention that please make sure that you feel that, throughout this 2 hour session, you do what you need to do to be comfortable. So if you need to step away for a minute, do feel free. Everything will be recorded so you can dial back later. And we will also be sharing notes afterwards. Perfect. I think we will stop there. There's loads of happy faces, so hopefully we keep that state of mind to the very end. So I will just stop the poll, and if we go back to the presentation. Perfect. So as you see, the next part of the agenda is to really start inviting the different grantees to share what they've done. Before we do that, just want to remind how this will work. Unfortunately, it's because it's quite packed. We only have kind of 8 minutes per organization to present. Before each presentation, I will invite a Start Network staff to just briefly introduce the project and why we chose the project as part of the learning grant. To help with timing, when you have 30 seconds left, I will just react with a heart or a thumbs up just to let you know that's 30 seconds left. And then at the 8 minute mark, I'm really like, sorry, but I'll have to interrupt and stop you there. And then in terms of questions, if you keep the Slido up, you'll see that you can choose to add questions. So if you, throughout the presentations, if you can add your questions there, please do that so that at the very end we can kind of go to the Slido and see and go in turn. Um, yeah, I think that might be it then. I will pass on to Jel to introduce humanity and inclusion. And after that, yeah, feel free to just start. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good morning to everyone. Apologies, my camera is acting up, so I can't open my camera. But the Humanity and Inclusion's learning grant project documents key lessons from the implementation of Start Ready in the Philippines, specifically on the role of local partners and local organizations of persons with disabilities. We choose this project to generate insights that can inform and improve our work in localization, especially locally led anticipatory and disaster response efforts. What I personally like about this project is how it brings diverse voices from our network and partners to strengthen resilience of the community. So that's it. May we proceed to the presentation of humanity and inclusion?
Could I just confirm who's, oh, Ivy, I see now.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so with me in the call is our country manager, Melanie Ruiz, our country emergency manager, Byron Fabiosa, and our meal manager, Mariel Gulia. Again, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everyone. This qualitative study was done from January to February of this year, led by Humanity and Inclusion, or HI, together with the DRF Cagayan Consortium, which is composed of 2 international NGOs, HI and Relief International, and 3 local NGOs, Green Meadows Development Foundation, Philippine Relief and Development Services, and St. Paul College Community Development Center Foundation. Just a big background of the study area. Our study area is the Cagayan province, which is at the northeasternmost tip of the Philippines. It has 28 municipalities and 820 barangays, and home to around 1.2 million people. It is located between two mountain ranges informed by the Cagayan River. It experiences pronounced wet and dry season and is extremely vulnerable to strong typhoons, such as the strongest typhoons that ever hit the country, such as Typhoon Goni and Vanko, and just recently the succeeding six typhoons last October until December, starting from the severe tropical storm Trami until the super typhoon Mani. Given that the AA and ER activations for Typhoon Duksuri was the pilot activation of the DRF system in the Philippines, and that among the DRF systems in the country, it is the only one activated not only once, the second being that for Typhoon Trami in November 2024, it is high time for us to consolidate the lessons learned to improve on the systems of HI as the lead organization, the systems of each implementing consortium partners, and the consortium as a whole. We also wanted to generate a document which tells the story of the DRF journey in Cagayan towards localization from the beginning until the recent ER activation that ended in February 2025, which we can revisit to track progress. We wanted to focus on our meal as well as the steps that were undertaken to support a locally led humanitarian system. The DRF building blocks, as well as the locally led DRF approach framework, were used to guide data gathering and analysis, as well as to write the report. This study complements the impact study for Typhoon Doksuri done in 2024, which mainly focused on the DRF system's impact on beneficiaries and touched on the dynamics of the implementing consortium. Under this learning grant, we conducted a deep dive on the implementing consortium's systems and processes and their relationship with local government units and organizations of persons with disabilities that, together with the consortium, implement the DRF activities. The study was done in three phases. The first phase defined the study scope and methodology together with the consortium partners. Relevant documents were reviewed, and a participatory methodology development workshop was conducted to come up with a common understanding of the DRF system, the roles of different stakeholders, and the scope of the study. The study originally intended to cover just Typhoon Duksuri activations, but the consortium decided to also cover Typhoon Trami's activations to document the evolution of the DRF system and gather information on how to improve our actions. After deciding on the scope, as well as the methods and content of the data to be gathered, the consortium also planned the data gathering activities. The second phase consists of data gathering. 12 in-depth remote or in-person interviews were conducted with key staff of the implementing consortium, including those who were not associated with HI anymore. 8 focus group discussions with 78 community members were conducted. 2 of these groups consisted of representatives of the Kamalanugan Handicapables Association, as well as beneficiaries of ambulatory assistive devices. The study was conducted during Typhoon Trami's ER activation, so it was also possible for us to observe the activities conducted, including the after-action reviews of Typhoon Trami's activations. The study utilized the process learning approach. So it is a kind of action learning which captures, shares, and integrates important lessons into the improvement or development of approaches and actions. Once the key lessons were identified, 2 pause and reflect sessions were conducted. One internally within HI as lead organization, and another together with the rest of the consortium, including representatives of local government units and organization of persons with disabilities, members of the Eastern Summer Consortium, which is implementing another DRF system, also led by HI, and the START Network Philippine team. These two sessions aim to validate the findings and to identify concrete steps to address challenges. With the DRF building blocks and the locally led DRF approach as frameworks, a lot of lessons learned were identified. What stood out the most are, number one, in order to move towards a locally led humanitarian system, it is crucial to build the capacity of local partners, especially when it comes to strategic decision making, as well as resource allocation and management. Second, community engagement needs to be improved via capacity building and enhanced feedback mechanisms. Third, meal processes are already being done and working, such as accessible feedback mechanisms that foster the community's trust towards the consortium. Post-distribution monitoring point out areas for improvement, especially in standard operating procedures. And after action reviews, enable the consortium to adjust its strategies. However, it is essential to put all these meal processes together through a cohesive meal framework or a logical framework, which will guide the strategies and actions as we move towards a locally led humanitarian system. If you want to get more details about the lessons learned, you can participate in various dissemination fora, or technical working groups, or meetings with NGOs and consortia, which will be participated by HI as well, where HI will be presenting and discussing the DRF system in Cagayan. You can visit our social media accounts where we will be sharing infographics and summaries of the lessons learned. And you can also request for a copy of the complete report at feedback@philippines.hi.org. Uh, VHI would like to extend our gratitude to Start Ready and Start Network for the opportunity to learn and grow from our experiences and also to share the lessons that we learned. Have a great day to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivy. That was right on time. Amazing. Way to set it up for the rest of the organizations that are presenting. And next is LHDP. I'm not sure if LHDP rep, if you've put a message on the chat, but could you raise your hand if you need sharing permissions? Is anyone from LHDP present? No? Okay. That's fine. That means more time to reflect and discuss. And hopefully maybe we can get their presentation another time. Next is NDP. I wonder if Animal is online.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Jose. Okay. Hello,
Sorry,
bhai.
sorry, Shadin. I'm just gonna invite Animal to just to introduce the project, and then I'll pass it to you really quickly.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. The project is from Bangladesh. So it's mostly focused on the flood seasonal level readiness activities that actually using the National Reserve Fund that actually implemented by one of our member organization, National Development Program. So National Development Program also serve working with Start Network since the Start Fund Bangladesh journey from the journey, and right now they are the global members also. So these projects actually focused on the flood seasonal level preparedness of the flood, and considering the short lead time, how effective is the interventions implemented, challenges and recommendation that can be complemented in the early action implementation. So I believe the recommendations can help our member organizations who also implemented the flood early action or the early action projects in the future. It can be help themselves to do the effective seasonal level preparedness plans that enhance early action implementation. So thank you, and over to Joyce.
Thank you, Animal. Bye. Great. I will invite NDP then. Do you have sharing permissions for the screen sharing?
Thank you, Joyce. I am trying to share our presentation. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. Can you
Correct.
see?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, Hello again. This is Shadhin from NDP. I will try to finish my presentation in 8 minutes. Before we start, let me take 30 seconds to talk about NDP. NDP stands for National Development Program. It started in 1992 in Shirazganj and gained several legal status from government. It began with a focus of flood response and humanitarian work. Now NDP works in areas like livelihoods, agriculture, disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation, and women's empowerment. Uh, uh, Thank you. This is not my last slide actually. I want to take a moment to thank you all for your support throughout the project. We worked on documentation and creating learning content, but this is type of a project is first of for us. Without the help of stakeholders, especially you guys, this wouldn't have been possible. Thank you again. Now let's dive into the main topic. Actually, why was the start ready learning project needed for us? If I say we wanted to assess how effective the start ready project was in improving flood preparedness and its impact on the community, it was important for us to understand the flood vulnerability in the areas, especially how certain regions are at higher risk due to their location and other factors. We gathered feedback and suggestions from stakeholders such as community members, government officials, and NGOs to understand what worked well and where improvement could be made. A flood affect many aspects of life, from people's livelihood to the damage they cause to infrastructure. We wanted to capture the extent of this impact to better prepare for future disasters, which will uh, contribute to anticipatory action. One of the main goal was to see how we can link flood preparedness activities, which is readiness, with the emergency response effort to minimize the damage when floods do occur. Sharing the knowledge and findings from this project with other humanitarian organizations help extending the flood preparedness efforts across different regions, which actually said earlier than Amul Bhai. It was crucial to raise awareness and sensitize all stakeholders involved about the importance of flood preparedness so that everyone is aligned in their approach. And finally, implementing anticipatory actions such as pre-positioning resources and improving early warning systems was a key part of reducing the impact of flood before it's happened. What was the Start Ready Learning project trying to achieve? The main aim of the project was to document the collaborative process that took place between community members, local authorities, and other stakeholders. This helps understand how teamwork and cooperation played a role in flood preparedness. We wanted to understand the outcome of the strategy activities, especially how they contributed to improving the community's ability to prepare for flood and for the anticipatory action. By gathering actionable insight, the project aimed to provide concrete recommendations that could improve future intervention and strategies. Enhancing anticipatory action was a major goal. This means strengthening the ability to act in advance, such as uh, prepositioning supplies and improving early warning systems, as I said earlier. The project also focused on documenting the community's engagement throughout the process, capturing their experiences, challenges, and suggestions to ensure that future flood preparedness activities are more inclusive and effective. Here we can say, actually, when we documented in field. Lots of community people, community leaders, NGO workers, government officials shared their experience. Here is one of there. I want to skip that. What was done through the project? We carried out several main activities to achieve the goals of the project. Actually, we done three main activities. One is a video documentary. This documentary aimed to capture the community's experience and flood preparedness. We spoke to local people, community leaders, and government officials to understand their views and gather valuable feedback. We also conducted impact research. This research helped us measure the effectiveness of the interventions and understand how they improved the community's ability to prepare for floods. We made a photo book. This book visually showed the changes and improvements in the community, along with the stories of how the interventions impacted people's lives. With main activities, we also done some other activities like a field visit to assess situation prior to the proposal submission. We done staff recruitment, video documentary. We procured video documentary firm and consultant. We conducted meeting with community, government officials, and NGOs as and when needed. We continuously communicate with Start Network for their technical support, and I want to thanks you again. If I say about, as I said earlier, we have three main activities. One of is video documentary. We first selected an experienced firm that had a history of working with the community. Then we visited the locations to plan and understand the best way to capture the story. Based on this, we wrote a draft video script that we shared with the Eastern Network communication team for their feedback. After reviewing their suggestion, we went to capture feedback and suggestions from the community members, government officials, and local leaders who are engaged in our readiness project. Once all the footage was gathered, we sent a draft of video to the Start Network team, actually Start communication team for review, and then finalized it after their approval. Then we done a research. The research was designed to focus on understanding the learning from the Start Ready project. To gather information, we conducted a survey with 200 beneficiaries and held focus group, 10 focus group discussion, and 25 key informed interviews with community leaders and local authorities and other NGOs or CBOs who work with us. We analyzed all data using SPSS, actually survey data using SPSS software, and then cross-checked and validated it by combining the finding from all sources. After completing the analysis, we shared a draft of the report with Start Network for their feedback, which we then incorporated to finalize the report. Our another work was the one of a photo book we did. Actually, that was impact photo book. Our team made several trips to the field to collect stories and experience directly from the community. We took photographs to match the specific stories we are capturing. After gathering both stories and photos, we designed them into a book format. Once the photo book was ready, we shared with the Start communications team for their feedback, and then finalized the book after their input. What have we learned through this project? We learned community engagement is very important for the success and long-term sustainability of the project. When communities are involved in the process, they not only help make the projects better, but they also take ownership, making the work more effective in the long run. Another one is collaboration between the community, government officials, and NGOs is crucial. Working together ensure that all groups are on the same page. Another one is filming videos and taking photos during the winter is very challenging. We face lot of challenge. The weather can make it very harder to capture the footage, good footage or photos, but we managed to overcome these challenges through careful planning and teamwork. Also, there was early intervention, including resource pre-positioning, minimizing flood impacts, and learning project timeline should extend. I want to share one thing. Early interventions, I think learning projects should be not be rushed. A timeline of more than 2 months would allow for better results. It gives enough time to gather information, involve all stakeholders, and make sure that the project can be done thoroughly and effectively. How other can engage in this project? Uh, if I said other NGOs from different regions in Bangladesh or in another countries who are affected through, if I said about flood, who have worked on similar activities can share their experience and feedback. Their insights also can help us learn from their success and mistakes and improve our future projects. Another one is building capacity for learning projects is also essential. By developing our skills and knowledge in this area, we can better manage and execute similar projects in the future. Sharing best practices and insight through network like Star Network is a great way to help in extending future interventions. By collaborating and learning from each other, we can all improve our approaches to disaster preparedness and also in anticipatory action. Providing feedback on flood preparedness strategies will help improve the effectiveness of future projects. The more input we get, the more we can refine our strategies and ensure that the work in different contexts and communities will in a good way. So uh, thanks. So that's the end of my presentation. If we have more time, Joyce, I can play the video documentary for you. Otherwise, thank you all for your time and attention. Thank you from the NDP.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Adin. Yes, I think it would be amazing to see the video. Actually, if you have a link, it'd be great if you could post it on the chat. But yeah, we're hoping to also reshare a lot of the learning products that each of the learning grantees have done. But we'll make sure that it's available to the network, so that everyone can see kind of the good work and see kind of visually the story that you're telling through the learning grant. Okay, I think now we have a bit of a break, more to just go through questions that any of the audiences have had. I've looked at Slido, but there's nothing there yet, which means either everything has been super clear, but maybe I'll just give everyone a few minutes to think, reflect, and then if you do have any questions, feel free to put it in the Slido or in the chat here. But yeah, I'll just give 2, 3 minutes for everyone to think and reflect. I think as people are thinking, someone has posted a question. Are you considering taking some of the learnings forward in your future programs? Um, I guess relevant for both NDP and HI. Maybe HI, if you would like to go first. Would Ivy like to go, or someone else from HI like to answer that question?
Hello, Joyce.
Yes.
Yes, maybe our country manager, Melanie, can answer the question. Or if not, then I can start.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for the question, and thanks, Doc Ivy, for passing it over to me. Yeah, I think in terms of moving forward, using the lessons into the next risk pool four, there's a lot that we have already considered. In fact, because we are talking of two activations already, most of the lessons from the first one have been carried over to the recent one, TRAMI. I'm talking about in terms of the focus on preparedness, the focus on ensuring prepositioning of goods, framework agreements with partners. I think building the capacity of the local actors, including our consortium partners, as well as the community members and local authorities, that's really very crucial for us, which we have taken into account in a lot of the preparedness activities. Moving forward, one of the lessons really that we have learned is how do we navigate now with the constantly changing um, weather systems, meaning last year was really looking at six multiple cyclones in the Philippines, days, just a few days after the other. So this is something that we are also recalibrating into our next contingency plan for the next risk pool four, as well as, having more engagement with our OPD partners, with our community-based organizations to be, really part of the decisions, especially in terms of resources that's available, how this can be more allocated for the appropriate responses that we are going to do and focus on for the next cycle. In terms of meal, we are currently co-developing together with Start Network Philippines a more comprehensive meal framework that can guide us, not just looking at one season, but really more comprehensive, looking at what could be the longer term contributions to resiliency, to the broader narrative of anticipatory action and a locally led humanitarian action in the country. So yeah, thanks a lot as well for the work with ongoing work with cooperating with SART Network on that, with contributions as well from our partners. So yeah, I think that's from my side. Over.
Thank you, Melanie. NDP, could I pass that question to you as well? And then also the second question about specific recommendations on from any stakeholders like community regarding improving early warning systems.
Uh, Thanks, Joyce. Uh, I want to answer the first question. Yes, we will carry the learnings from this project into our future projects. Like the importance of community engagement for the success and sustainability of the project. Engaging communities help ensure better outcomes and long-term effectiveness. Also, as we know, the need for effective collaboration between the community, government offices, and NGOs to address the real needs and ensure better results. Uh, Also, we will carry the learning that the challenge faced during the video and photo documentation, especially during winter, which can be tough but manageable with the proper planning. There was another learning which we can carry for the future project, the significant impact of infrastructure improvement, such as elevated roads and bridges, increasing resilience and minimizing flood damages. Also, if I want to carry the last learning, which is the value of early interventions, including resource prepositioning, minimizing the impact, which is minimizing the impact of floods and improve response efficiently. The second question was is there any specific recommendation from any stakeholder like community regarding? Yes, we got a recommendation from government that they have limited resource, human resource, so that in emergency time and or emergency preparedness time, they can uh, reach to the marginalized people. So they asked NGO like NDP to early warning system should be spread out throughout the marginalized people and all other areas. So thank you, Joyce.
Thank you,
Maybe
Sharon.
yeah.
Perfect. Super. I think this leads to the next part of the agenda, which is more presentations. So the next few will be BSDSB, Avas, Medair, and Goal. Without further ado, maybe I'll pass on to Marty to give the introduction to BSDSB, and then straight to the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce. So just a brief introduction to BSDSB. They undertook this learning grant with GLOW consultants, who we've worked with before. Their research looks at the impact of heatwave preparedness projects in the CB district of Balochistan. And the objectives are really interesting. They focus on local understandings and local insights and gaps in public awareness, which are really well aligned with START Network's emphasis on localization. So yeah, in the study, they proposed some practical recommendations that I'm sure they'll go through in the presentation, and how to overcome some key challenges to the effective implementation of a localized AA strategy for heat waves in the Sibi region of Balochistan. Sorry, that was a bit of a long sentence, but yes, on to BSDSB.
Thank you so much, colleagues. My name is Saeed, and I'm representing colleagues from Bright Star and Globe. And as we speak, we are having a temperature of more than 45 degrees in Sibbi. So it's hot, 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 if I can say it in this terminology. And as you can see the slides, it says that the breaking news temperature is going to rise again. And imagine something beyond 45. It's 48 is normal, then 50, and even last year we hit 51, 52. So, and this is something which the humanity then does not sustain. At least this the science says. I got 7 minutes to go in terms of presentation, so we'll be quick. We are also joined by our Chief Executive Nasir, or other colleagues Maida, Ashraf, and Razak. So thank you and welcome all colleagues. In terms of what we are going to present is the introduction and project schemes, methodology, and key findings. And what are the some of the recommendation coming. One of the unique aspect about this research was that we use a COMB model, which is with respect to communication, capability, opportunity, and motivation, and how we can use this as part of our communication procedures. And we believe that learning from this learning grant for PSDSBA is not only applicable for Pakistan, but our colleagues in Bangladesh and other India and other areas where there is an issue, we can capitalize it. So a few words about the program. There were some activities which including the heat wave contingency planning, awareness and dissemination, the cooling station establishment, then coordination with the relevant stakeholders, which include the health authorities, the education authorities, as well as the first responder, and also then the community awareness. And then when we talk about community awareness, it's also quite interesting. So we are talking about awareness of the daily wages because they are the one who get exposed. We are talking about the awareness among children because they work, they in the classroom which is congested and which is with no limited ventilation or no ventilation in area where there is electricity goes out, because the higher the temperature, the more likely that there will be a power and shutdown. Then we are talking about passengers in because the passengers are the one who work in this crowded local vans, especially with women who are fully covered with the from head to toe because of the culture concern, and also the public servants, the traffic police who are exposed to the sun, managing the travel. So imagine the situation these guys are working. The study objective was about understanding the heat wave threats in Sibbi, which is the hottest area in our part of the world. Then also looking into the health risk perception within the community, early warning system, its effectiveness and adaptation, and lastly, identifying the awareness and behavior gaps during the heat wave response. So what we did is we went for a mixed method approach, which include both the survey with the beneficiaries, the program participants, as well as the qualitative aspects in terms of the focus discussion and KIs. And then the sample size and others are available here. Just to give a point, like what these cooling stations look like, you can see one picture where the boy is coming, not only fetching the water for himself to drink there, but also to fetch water for his mother, who is standing on the side, so that he can take the water for there. And behind the scene, you can see some the ihtiyati tadabir, mean that precautionary measures. So the people are also getting the measures there. So what we found in terms of the knowledge before and after, because we did also to understand what the people were saying before it. So we are seeing a significant increase in terms of the learning. The moderately aware number, which was 14% before the intervention, it went to 65%. And then there were people who were saying that we are very much aware. There's also increase, and also this slightly aware. Similarly, interestingly, one of the key finding for us is the radio. Radio, at least from the people perception, was not very effective tool in terms of reaching out to them. Whether they were more relying on the TV, the banners, and the community members. So so we were talking to the Bright Star colleague, and some of the aspect they are taking forward as part of the new program is having increased emphasis on these modes as part of their new intervention moving forward. And this is something, again, it also resonates with the finding as well. Very few people nowadays listen to radio, whereas majority of them go to the TV and on the radio and the print. Then, in terms of some of the preventive measures, again, this is quite interesting, and we saw a gender difference as well. The project has a as a result of the project, more people were aware of the protective measure, and one particular measure we took forward is staying indoor. But it at least at the same time, we saw that more women disagree with this as a measure as compared to men. And part of the reason we feel that this is because that women are already staying indoor as compared to men. But with men, they feel that it's more important to stay indoor. We saw the level of various heat wave protection measures. So staying indoor is coming. Drinking water was something which was mentioned again and again. Using of fan, the item provided by the Bright Star, because again, the Bright Star did not cover the whole population. CB is a huge town. But again, the people who were of the opinion, they said that as a result, it helped. And lastly, the family members helping each other. In terms of how the heat wave preparedness can be improved, so we focus on the community-based solutions, and part of the included is that say that for medium to long term, there need to be more tree plantations, more community sessions, and girl-led campaigns. And the reason is that what they were saying is that the boys or men do not have access to girls, and the girls can then have more impact. And this is something which has to be done with the institution support. And the institution support comes from the health departments, education departments, and others, so that these community-based solutions can be more enriched. In terms of the challenges identified, early warning system was definitely one of them. And part of the reason is that the weather phenomena, there are many false alarms. So what they said that the weather forecast said that there would be extreme heat in after a week, and after a week, then we get suddenly the westerly winds coming in, and the weather gets down, and then suddenly, so out of maybe after two alerts or three alerts or four alerts, some may materialize and some may not materialize. So these false alarms is creating a kind of a kind of the early warning system, the trust on early warning system reduce. Then gender-based barriers is also accessing to information and also assistance, and limited engagement on part of local authorities in proactive planning. And again, part of the reason is that the local authorities are more also emergency driven. So when there is an emergency, they do things. But when you are trying to engage with them in proactive planning after 6 months, there is less buy-in. And lastly, in terms of the improving heat wave preparedness, so we thought let's listen to people, what people says. And the three main things was awareness raising, public cooling centers, and the provision of support by the government, especially in terms of if somebody is sick, what kind of support XYZ can receive in the hospital. If somebody is a government servant, public servant, how the government can support them, and also with the same thing with the communities. Then also the more long term, also the solarization, cold water facilities, and provision of heat kits as well. Some recommendation also lastly, and that's the last slide from us. We identified from the COM-B model, the recommendation are divided into three main categories. One is the physical capabilities under the capability, then the psychological capabilities, then opportunities in terms of the social opportunities, how how the heat wave response can break the social taboos and bring a transformation change in the communities in terms of, let's say, for example, girls' engagement or women empowerment, and also the motivation. And then how the recommendation can lead to a resilience and a response, a more resilient and community-based response towards heat wave. So we'll just stop here. And yeah, and we'll be very happy once we go to the question and answer. And Emma, thank you so much for all your support from BSDSP and us, and all other colleagues who provided. So a big thank you, guys. And I learned something from Bangladesh team today. They put the thank you in the second slide, so you will see us next time doing it the same way. So thank you, Bangladesh team, as well. Over to you guys.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Saeed. That is very sweet. Great. Maybe just as a reminder, to also, reflect while we're waiting for transitions of presentations on different questions, and please feel free to pop it in the chat or the Slido. Also, we will, if possible, if you guys can share with us your presentations after this kind of meeting, we can make sure that that's circulated with everyone in the meeting today. Next up is Avas. So I'll pass on to Animal By again to do the introductions, and then we can start the presentation. Thank you. Animal By, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. Oh,
Yeah, are you?
hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you. Will you be happy to do the introduction for Avas?
Sure. So Awas, so earlier on the NDP project was mostly focused on the floods. So the Awas, this is also one of our member organizations from the first. They actually were focused on the cyclone-prone areas. It's not only the flood readiness project as well as the early action activation also, and that was the only early on activation last year. So this is also the project actually decides how actually our member it can be help our members to create better seasonal preparedness plans to improve early action capabilities, as well as identify the gaps and recommendations for a better early action in a shorter lead time. Because you know that for cyclone it's a very short lead time for Bangladesh, although we expect it's 72 hours, but mostly it's 40 to 48 hours or less than 40. So that's all from the project. Yeah, about to yes.
Thank you, Animal. Over to Avas.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much giving this opportunity. I'm Shumon Ahsan Islam. This is a collaborative work actually between Abbas and Insight. So, ours is a Bangladeshi local-based organization led by women, and they are member in the staff network, implemented projects for anticipatory readiness last year, and later anticipatory action projects in the coastal area of Bangladesh. So with these projects, implementing experience been documented, actually, identifying the key learnings in coastal cycle preparedness in Bangladesh, with this collaborative study between ours and Insights. Introducing Insights is elaborated as the Institute of Innovation for Gender and Humanitarian Transformation, a humanitarian knowledge organization in Bangladesh. So we implemented as the this presentation actually made both the three kind of the action we had. Firstly, as I said, this Abbas implemented the readiness activities, and they implemented anticipatory action on the ground. And thirdly, the whole process of the lesson learning generation exercise, this study itself. So, now next few slides, I'll be presenting those. Before that, I introduce myself. I'm Suman Aftanulistan, advisor for the Institute of Innovation for Gender and Human Transformation Insights. And I also have lead this study on the ground, visiting all the communities and developing the report, assessing the those data and generating the report. So if I move to the next slide, okay, is my slide visible? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Well, as I said, that it is obviously the first thing of why the project was needed is the climate change and the climatic disasters vulnerability in Bangladesh. So that is the first reason why you need this project. And then the second thing was the early warning system in the very community level, on the grassroots level, is very weak in the country. Though we have the very successful project, community volunteer project implemented by Bangladesh government, Cyclone Preparedness Program (CPP). You probably know that, and also the pre-position resource and formal disaster preparedness trainings, etc. The kind of the response capacity on the ground by the communities and by the responder organizations are weak in Bangladesh. Secondly, there is the gaps exist in the anticipatory action integration in Bangladesh. While the whole anticipatory action idea is new, so the all the protocol, document, policies, strategies, and everything by government they have adopted are not yet included the anticipatory action modalities in their work. So so those are the learning issues that are those be contributing to those the changes of the policies and the strategies and orders by the government. And the other needed for the project was the conventional way of disaster, the immediate response, cyclone response, particularly in this case conventional way of this response is very much embedded within the whole mindset of both community people and the responders, both government and non-government. So this is the process we wanted to learn, know the how the reactive uh, response and the anticipatory action actually get a kind of the benefited over the how the anticipatory action actually benefited over the reactive and the responders. So the whole study we actually done in both in the mixed method. We undertaken a survey, quantitative survey, mostly opinion survey, and secondly we undertake like the qualitative discussion and consultation with the community and the important stakeholders. Now, what the project trying to achieve is to, as I said, this is strengthening the community resilience of the disaster preparedness and through locally led readiness and anticipatory action. So this project is actually, I'm talking about the advanced implemented project with the local staff network funding that they implemented in the very much very highly vulnerable cyclone prone areas in Bangladesh. So that they strengthen their capacity and get ready for the cyclone season for the any implementation. Secondly, the building the capacity act before the disaster, early warning, dissemination, and all these things. Uh, Also, as I said, the whole implementation of the project was assessing the effectiveness of forecast-based financing, early warning, dissemination, and coordination disaster planning. So when we assessing the effectiveness means that, as I said earlier, that the um, anticipatory action over the reactive or conventional responses and generate evidences from those activities so that to use for national disaster framework and humanitarian system and ultimately enhancing the cyclone preparedness and generating learning and evidences to share with international and global people like this workshop. Then what does through the project has been done, as you can see on the slides that there are readiness activities in Rangabali, which is a sub-district in the coastal district in Patwakali in Bangladesh. The last point of the in the south of Bangladesh, a offshore island basically in the Rangabali East. So what our did there is repair 12 cyclone shelters, improve wash facilities, organize the solar lighting in on those shelters. They provide training to disaster volunteers, which are 50% of them are women, and particularly trained them on the evacuation, women evacuation, and SRHR. Also undertake the awareness and community communication through and awareness through installing billboards, distribution, hygiene kit, etc. Then there was a cyclone on those areas, and cyclone Rimel is called. So Rimel hit was early warning was heightened and the anticipatory early watch action was activated in Kalpoli, another upazila in the coast area, where the cash assistance was provided to 1,000 households and distributed dry food and hygiene kit to 3,600 people in 12 shelters. One important thing I missed here, at the readiness stage, Abbas also prepared a list of potential vulnerable disaster victims or affected people on those areas where they undertake the readiness activities. So there was a door-to-door survey of vulnerabilities in those upajalas and develop a database of vulnerable people who are at the high risk in those areas. And the when the cyclone early warning being heightened and anticipatory action was implemented in Saltoli, the database that developed at the stage of early readiness activities being used to identify those 1,000 households and 3,600 people for the support. Then community, the whole action was highly community engaged. A number of community, all these activities actually not pre-planned at the office of Abbas. Rather, the Abbas people went to the community, they discussed with the people, the community volunteers and the local government, and then they undertake all those activities that I have already discussed. And later on the research and documentation, as I said, the third phase of the work, this particular study we have done, research and documentation, and eventually those research documentation and lesson learning will kept for policy advocacy at different level, so that to contribute in the change of the humanitarian framework in Bangladesh.
Sorry, Suman, I
Now,
might just stop. If I can just give you 30 more seconds, just to
yes,
wrap up. I'm sorry.
this is my last slide, so you can just see how what we learned. The anticipatory catch transfer was very helpful, and the anticipatory action actually is the cornerstone of the anticipatory action is the community-based disaster risk reduction. That's what we have learned from all these activities. Critical infrastructure, including electricity and internet, is very key, because the money transfer was done by the mobile transfer, money transfer, which was based on the internet and electricity, which is very critical. So what we said is electricity and internet is an evolving humanitarian need to respond during emergencies. And later you can see here, as at the time of the essence, I'm stopping here. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Suman. And yeah, thank you for wrapping that up really quickly. And I think many people would resonate with your final reflections about AA being the cornerstone, but also kind of lack of electricity as being one of the critical things that needs to be addressed, and for many different hazards. I think rather than moving to the next presentation, maybe we can take a bit of a break for a minute. And I see there's a few questions in the Slido, but I'll just give everyone a minute or two just to reflect a bit, see if there's any questions for the two presenters earlier. As usual, feel free to put it in the Slido, or if you wish, you can put it in the meeting chat. Thank you. Maybe we can go to the two questions on Slido. I think one of them already, Shobajit, you've put it in the meeting chat, but maybe it'd be nice just to invite Mr. Saeed to comment on it in terms of the situation in Balochistan. If I
Thank
can.
you so much. Maybe if I can request Nasir Saab. Nasir Saab, can you hear me? If Nasir doesn't respond, then I can chip in as well. But let's say if colleagues Nasir.
नसीर साहब is there, sir. Nasir साहब is there. सर ये सवाल का जवाब पूछ रहे हैं जो इन्होंने पूछा था शुभजीत ने ना पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी के हवाले से Saeed Saab, Nasir Saab is asking me to reply this question actually. Yes, indeed. That as I responded in the chat, that the situation is quite difficult in Balochistan nowadays due to the political instability. But anyhow, we have to work. We have to move forward, and we are trying to evolve with the circumstances and trying to comply with the official protocols set by the government of Balochistan and government of Pakistan. Uh, we are trying to ensure that our work move forward accordingly. As this question is with reference to the learning grant. When we were implementing the learning grant, the situation was quite difficult. The situation was quite different. There was not that much political stability at that time. But nowadays, we are facing a lot of trouble, like the closure of internet connections and so on, the other things. But anyhow, we are doing our best and trying to move forward. Thank you.
And just to add to this point, there is also a dynamics, a conflict dynamics. The target from the insurgents, militants, whatever we call it, is more towards the government security forces, not
Yes.
the civilians, not the NGOs, not the local population. So organization like Bright Star, which is working in the last 20 years in the area, they are local and they are indigenous. So they do not like in terms of accessing the population, implementation, the activities, there's not there. But the operational challenges are there. And it's not only the operational challenges in terms of technology, is also operation and challenges in terms of the nature hazards like the heat, the same heat which the population are affected. Also, the Bright Star team is also affected by it. Imagine working in a 50-degree centigrade, setting up the camp all the way from 6 a.m. in the morning up to 8 p.m. in the evening. It takes a toll on it. So then the teams play with it and they take the necessary precautionary measures.
Thank you for that. Yeah, very difficult times. But thank you for sharing how you're navigating and also in terms of the importance of kind of locally led or locally based organizations to really support the communities there. The other question I think is what triggers are used for heat wave warning and how far in advance the warnings are typically issued? Could you share the early warning system improvement measures identified? I think that's also to Saeed, if that's all right.
That's perfect. So, luckily, we have a good historical data in terms of the heat patterns and the heat spots and the hot spots. Uh, what is happening is that there is a hierarchy: Nation Disaster Management Centers, then the Provincial Disaster Management Authority, and then we got the Pakistan Meteorological Department, and then we have the district authorities. So, and together with the Start Hub and other, so these guys work together in terms of the patterns and other. So. Pretty much in advance, we can see that when the heat wave will start. Like right now, for this month, we can say that because of the changing weather pattern, the heat wave phenomena, which used to occur in May, June, July, it's is going far, coming forward. It's like even now, while sitting on the 10th of April, we are already seeing the heat wave, and will be not surprising if the heat wave hit its peak in or at least the peak which used to hit in June, all the way in the second week or third week of April. Uh, it's a hit and learn kind of things. But the scientific data, the satellite data, close coordination with the authorities, Pakistan meteorological data, it is helping us to come up with these heat waves. So early raising the alert, but then the question comes is disseminating this message to the community is becoming the bigger challenge. So I think we are learning as we are moving forward. I wish I could have a better response, but this is the situation.
Thank you for that. Yeah, very dynamic, and the challenges of that. The last question I think is to Avas. It's the one at the very bottom of the Slido. What was the recommendation for challenges between anticipatory action and traditional humanitarian response? So if I could pass that to Avas, maybe.
Please repeat the question. I couldn't understand it.
Yes. So the question is, what was the recommendation for challenges between anticipatory action and traditional humanitarian response?
Well, the first recommendation is like for policy and a framework, kind of mm, framework. What is the reform? Because there are many compliance issues of Bangladesh government. I'm talking about Bangladesh that for emergency humanitarian response and this all this compliance is actually related to after disaster humanitarian action. So when people go and start responding before the disaster, the compliance issues get complicated. So those things need to be looked at in Bangladesh and looked at in the framework. For example, we have a standing order on disaster management of Bangladesh government. We also have like foreign donation management or compliance rules. in Bangladesh. So those are particularly been a challenge for anticipatory action in Bangladesh. Secondly, the thing that, as I said in the presentation, the community level disaster risk reduction capacity building at the ground is the cornerstone of anticipatory action. So those community-based disaster risk reduction and response should be uh, should be kind of a uh, do on a regular and basis and a regular path of development work. Otherwise, all of a sudden, with going out with anticipatory action, probably would not work. Thirdly, we also find that the local based small business people, particularly bazaar, small bazaars, and they are actually the small shopkeepers association, they are very critical, could be very critical of importance in during emergency responses. We talked to a number of small business people on the communities, and they said that they are, in most cases, not consulted for planning or responding to the immediate responses. So whether they have a high potential of cash transfer, particularly because when injected a lot of cash in communities, that ultimately impact on the local bazaars and markets. So those local and bazaars should be in consideration when planning and anticipatory cash transfer in the communities. I think I respondents covered the question.
Yes, very clearly. Very, very clearly. Thank you so much. Perfect. So maybe we'll go back to the presentations now. Next, we will invite Medair to present on their work. Oh, oop, yeah. Thank you. Um, and I'll invite Emma to give the introduction for Medair. And then because the presentation will be French, just want to remind everyone who prefers English for the audio, please can you make sure that you've chosen the English channel so that the interpreter can interpret the presentation from French to English. Yeah, just really quickly, it's at the navigation uh, kind of area at the bottom of the window. You can see kind of English, French, and then you just choose English. But yes, over to you, Emma.
Allô?
We do not hear Emma. Wonder if I'm the only one.
Emma's
Yes,
on the English channel. Make sure that you're on the English channel on interpretation.
Sorry, is everyone on the English? Yes. Are people in English channel?
Joyce, can you teach how to do it? Because I can't do it. Where
Yeah,
is the
sure,
option?
Said. Yeah. So, just to give a few instructions, at the very bottom, there's a navigation kind of bar. You'll see a circle with three dots. If you click into it, you should be able to see kind of like a world icon, which says interpretation. And then there you can click into French or English. So if you prefer French, then you can click into French. If you prefer English, then please press into English. May, yeah. Hi, Ravo. Are you presenting for MedAir?
Allô? Oui, mais c'est la présentation qui ne s'affiche pas? Oui, en attendant l'affichage de la présentation,
Yeah.
c'est bon?
Désolé, mais c'est qui va présenter? Parce que maintenant, c'est Ravo qui a le status de co-host. Mais est-ce que je dois mettre quelqu'un d'autre aussi comme co-host?
Je n'ai pas bien compris. Est-ce que je dois partager mon écran ou comment?
Ruby, do you have the slides with you? You don't? Okay, then no worries about you sharing the screen. Hopefully, Ravo has uh, permissions to share his screen.
Enter screen slow. J'arrive pas.
Okay.
Sorry, I think we see the screen of Lopez now at this time. So perhaps about this, Ralph can share his screen.
Thank you, Herzo. See, Ravo, if you can't share your screen, do you want to share the presentation to me and then I can, oh, it's working. Okay, we're good. Yes, we can see the screen now. So I think when you're ready, we can start.
Oui, est-ce que vous m'entendez? Ok,
Oui, Ralph.
oui, merci. Pour MEDER, c'est MEDER Madagascar est une ONG internationale qui travaille sur le cyclone à Madagascar. Donc, la leçon que nous avons à présenter, c'est une POS, standard d'opération procédure, qui est liée à la mise en place d'un standard opérationnel pour le ciblage des bénéficiaires, pour les actions anticipatoires, pour la réponse d'urgence et pour le mécanisme de redevabilité. C'était un projet qui a été mis en œuvre avec CARE, avec l'appui des ONG membres de Start Network à Madagascar. On avait réfléchi à ce projet parce qu'on a constaté que sur le terrain, on n'a pas su mettre en place d'une manière efficace les actions anticipatoires. La raison est qu'on n'a pas pu mettre en place des ciblages des bénéficiaires puisque nous adressons l'aléa cyclone. La fenêtre d'anticipation n'est que de 3 jours et durant ces 3 jours, on n'aura pas le temps de faire le ciblage ou bien le pré-ciblage. Donc, on a réfléchi à une procédure standard opérationnelle pour le pré-ciblage des bénéficiaires, pour l'action anticipatoire. Donc, avec les membres de Start Network, on a réfléchi sur comment est-ce qu'on peut assurer une pré-ciblage avant la saison cyclonique pour l'anticipation des cyclones, on peut mener des interventions de distribution auprès des populations à risque et potentiellement sinistrées. Et là, donc, on a procédé à réflexion et une réflexion et puis, on a pensé à ce projet de créer, de mettre en place ce protocole standard. Et puis, pour la création de ce protocole standard, on a engagé un cabinet pour collecter, collecter au niveau de chaque ONG qui met en œuvre des actions anticipatoires les informations sur comment est-ce que chacun procède pour le ciblage ou bien le pré-ciblage des bénéficiaires. Et puis, on a passé aussi une revue, une enquête, une analyse auprès de la communauté sur comment est-ce qu'ils trouvent la solution pour avoir ce pré-ciblage bien avant la saison cyclonique. Et puis, il y a une première draft qui a été partagée et réfléchie au niveau des membres, des ONG membres de Start Network pour le finaliser. Et donc, à la fin, on a pu produire le protocole et le protocole présente donc les différents processus pour le pré-ciblage, donc le pré-ciblage avant la saison cyclonique, qui consiste à faire une étude sur terrain sur quelles sont les zones à risque. Et cette étude va être faite avec les autorités locales, la communauté, pour sélectionner les localités plus à risque et puis de vérifier avec eux les différents critères de vulnérabilité de la population face aux cyclones. Et sur ça, donc, on a conçu des méthodologies, soit une pré-ciblage avec recensement de toute la population de la localité et puis d'appliquer des critères pour sélectionner les bénéficiaires potentiels ou bien de faire une pré-ciblage sélective en basant sur les localités à risque et en basant sur des critères définis à l'avance. Donc, on a 2 options pour l'instant. Et pour le ciblage des bénéficiaires, ce sera la même chose, mais ce qui s'ajoute, c'est de mener des sessions au niveau communautaire, puisque les ciblages vont se faire pour les actions de réponse rapide. Pour les réponses rapides, donc, à cette méthodologie s'ajoutent des réunions communautaires pour assurer que les bénéficiaires répondent bien aux critères et que c'est validé au niveau de la communauté. Et pour le mécanisme de redevabilité, le processus, on a dû mettre en commun aussi les pratiques et les savoirs des différentes ONG pour mettre en place un mécanisme commun. L'objectif était d'assurer que tous les acteurs qui travaillent sur les localités, sur les mêmes localités surtout, disposent de la même méthodologie pour le pré-ciblage, pour le ciblage et pour le mécanisme de retour. Et à la fin du projet, on a donc eu le protocole approuvé et par les membres du Start Network au niveau pays. Et puis, des formations ont été menées pour assurer que les utilisateurs de ce manuel puissent les pratiquer en cas de mise en œuvre de d'actions anticipatoires ou bien de réponses rapides. Et puis, on a multiplié les outils pour que chaque ONG membre dispose d'un copie pour se référer sur le terrain, surtout en cas de catastrophe, en cas d'utilisation, en cas de mise en œuvre d'actions anticipatoires ou de réponses précoces. Et puis, pourquoi on a mis ce projet. L'objectif, c'était d'avoir des avantages. Et l'avantage, c'est que pour que les interventions soient cohérentes et pour que les outils utilisés soient harmonisés, puisque à Madagascar, dans la pratique, chaque ONG a ses expertises spécifiques et donc appelé à mettre en œuvre des interventions donc, pour que la communauté puisse avoir un paquet d'actions qui leur permet d'éviter les catastrophes ou bien qui leur permet de se reprendre le courant de la vie en cas de catastrophe. Donc, sur terrain, on essaie d'avoir des méthodologies communes, des outils communs, donc d'intervention qui peut se superposer et qui peut se complémenter et puis pour assurer une gestion transparente et efficace des projets. Donc, cela facilite le suivi et la consolidation des données et des résultats pour les interventions START et pour les interventions dans une localité donnée. Et puis, ça permet aussi de renforcer la coordination des acteurs. Et puis, pour renforcer aussi la responsabilité envers les bénéficiaires, puisque le manuel est approuvé, donc chaque ONG membre est appelé à l'appliquer. Et cela, donc, permet de faciliter la mise en place des mécanismes de redevabilité dans le cas où chacun met en œuvre des projets. Un seul mécanisme de redevabilité mis en place permet de collecter tous les retours positifs ou négatifs de la communauté sur l'intervention et par rapport à leurs demandes aussi. Cela permet aussi d'améliorer la qualité des interventions. C'est toujours en lien avec la coordination des actions. Cela permet aussi de, de, de réduire les coûts opérationnel des activités d'anticipation ou bien de réponse d'urgence, puisque on peut mettre en place un seul ciblage pour plusieurs projets, que ce soit wash, shelter ou bien la protection, puisque le ciblage, c'est unique, le mécanisme de redevabilité est unique. Donc, ça réduit les coûts et puis ça peut réduire aussi les erreurs, puisqu'on a un seul base de données pour le ciblage, et à chacun de voir quels seront les critères qui leur intéressent dans leur intervention. Et pour terminer, comment on pouvait inclure les autres ONG ou bien les autres acteurs dans ce processus d'apprentissage. Avec ce processus d'apprentissage, on a déjà impliqué chaque membre de chaque ONG membre dans le processus de dans le processus de création du manuel, puisque le manuel a été partagé en draft et chacun a été appelé à apporter leur contribution à travers leur pratique qui a été consolidé en termes de ciblage, pré-ciblage et de mécanisme de retour. Et puis, on pensait à faire aussi, ou bien pousser chaque acteur à mettre en place des séances de leçons apprises après chaque intervention qui permet de voir à quel point ils ont appliqué le procédure opérationnelle standard pour le pré-ciblage, pour le ciblage et pour le mécanisme de redevabilité, de tirer des leçons et de voir aussi les axes d'amélioration de ce protocole. Donc, en viseur, ce protocole n'est pas figé, mais voué à être mis à jour après chaque intervention avec la convention de tous les ONG, membres de Start Network présents à Madagascar. Voilà donc notre présentation. Et puis, j'espère que le temps nous a permis de clarifier comment est-ce qu'on a avancé et qu'est-ce qu'on a obtenu et qu'est-ce qu'on espère pour la suite. À titre d'information, nous sommes actuellement en phase d'utilisation du protocole puisqu'on a des réponses d'urgence à faire. Donc, après cette réponse, il va y avoir l'atelier de leçons apprises sur l'application de cette POS et espérons avoir des leçons et des améliorations à apporter. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, Bravo, and also Ruby for translating. Perfect. I think we'll just give everyone a bit of a break as we move on to the next presentation, which will be from Goal. I think Gospel will be presenting. And maybe before we invite Gospel to share, I will invite my colleague Sandy Sue, who will give an introduction. Also, just remind everyone to please mute if you're not speaking so that the interpreters can hear the voices clearly. Thank you very much. Sandy.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Just a brief introduction of GO. Presentation. So GO was conducting an assessment in terms of checking or assessing the effectiveness of rural targeting methodologies, which were utilized in the implementation of anticipatory action, a case of Zimbabwe Risk Pool 3 activation. Why we picked this project is really relevant and useful as we continue to refine the targeting methodology for Start Network activations for anticipatory action. And also, I think we felt that the lessons would enable us to really ensure that the right recipients are reached during activations. What I specifically like about this project is that you would all appreciate that effective targeting ensures that assistance really reaches those who need it the most, at the right time. So personally, I feel like this is really coming in handy and really relevant to the space, as it were. So over to Gospel, representing Gold Zimbabwe, to take us through the presentation. Over to you, Gospel. Thank you.
I thank you very much, colleagues. Confirm you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me put in slideshow. And you can also see my screen, eh?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll take you quickly through an evaluation learning study that we did in Gwanda and Matobo districts, where a number of partners were implementing anticipatory action protocols project in these two districts. So I'll just give you a brief background. In the map there, you'll see a district written Matobo, and district written Gwanda. So those were the two districts that were targeted with the Anticipatory Action Protocols project. So just a brief background, Zimbabwe has 5 regions in terms of agriculture and agricultural productivity, with region 1 being the most productive and region 5 being the least productive. So Matobo and Gwanda districts fall into region 5, which are usually affected by a number of different shocks, climate-induced disasters, particularly droughts that have severely impacted food security as well as water availability and subsequently livelihoods. So in response to some of these challenges, the START network partnered Christian Aid, Save the Children to implement this project under risk pool 3. So goal was essentially there to evaluate the effectiveness of some of the targeting approaches that were being employed by both districts, as well as some of the targeting approaches as well that were being employed by the government in order to around anticipatory action. So we actually wanted to determine the appropriateness of these strategies, gauge also, the impact on the targeted communities, as well as also to try and identify some opportunities to actually optimize the resource allocation. So I'll turn a little bit into some of the objectives that we were kind of looking at without reading through all of them. Like I've already mentioned, we wanted to actually look at the effectiveness of the targeting approaches. So you'd find different organizations sometimes have different, approaches around anticipatory action protocols, and there's also a lot of literature around what the government is also doing and what they are also promoting. So we wanted to actually assess the effectiveness of the targeting approaches as it also relates to most vulnerable and key populations like women, as well as persons with disabilities. Tied to that, we wanted to see how inclusive, these approaches are, and responsiveness of these approaches to the community needs. We also wanted to evaluate as well the extent to which these targeted anticipatory action interventions were accessible. I'm sure we can all agree that you can have a very good program, but it can have accessibility challenges. So these are some of the issues that we're also trying to evaluate. Then as well, the level of awareness of the communities regarding the anticipatory actions that can be that are available to them. Then we also wanted to analyze feedback. We knowing very much that the issue of community feedback is very important, especially as you design targeting approaches, so that you do not leave anyone behind. Then last but not least, we, as I've already mentioned, we also wanted to see how also the government-led targeting processes is also faring vis-a-vis some of the targeting approaches that partners were actually employing. So what we did is the methodology actually employed a mixed methods approach, where we had a qualitative aspect and a quantitative aspect, knowing very much that if we only employ a quantitative approach, we could miss some of the juicy stories, some of the anecdotes that can actually help us to create a future intervention. So we had both within the methodology. So we interviewed around 113 respondents across the two districts. We also had focus group discussions with the communities, and most importantly as well, we also had key informant interviews where we did not only interview those at district level, but we also interviewed very key community-based stakeholders as well as community-based leaders. So this is more or less what we did. Then in terms of what we found as part of our findings in terms of the targeting, generally we saw that the targeting was fair, especially the partner targeting. It was fair, where around 87.6% of the respondents found the registration to be fair and found it to be inclusive. However, there were some issues for the remaining percentages where the community members highlighted that it wasn't fair in where they indicated barriers around communication, barriers around logistics, distances to the ward centers, etc. So, but generally they indicated that it was the targeting was effective. Then the program also had a component around cattle, where it was providing acaricides to the communities. So generally, there was good reach, but there was a bit of an adaptive management, which was very good because the project initially targeted those that had 10 cattle and above, but there was an adaptation where they included everyone with cattle, and this actually improved the reach. Then around water access, indeed, it's no secret that the boreholes that the program implemented, created, they really reduced water fetching distances, some from around 30 kilometers to between 2 to 4 kilometers. So this was also a big positive around the anticipatory actions that were being done within the program. Then the government as well, when we compare the government targeting and the NGO targeting, we found that in terms of the government targeting, you'd find that, yes, it was very effective, but there were issues around inclusion and around, co-creating of some of the targeting approaches, with the communities. So the communities felt they were not very much involved when they look at the government vis-a-vis the NGO or the partner targeting approaches. So yeah, those were some of the findings. So you find that around 59.3% stated that the project was very effective, 39.8% indicating a rating of effective, then around 0.9 considered it as somewhat effective, which meant that it was generally good. And the slide that I'm building currently is presenting some of the lessons that we then draw from these findings. So you find
Apologies,
that,
Gospel. Just a quick reminder, just 30 seconds left. Apologies.
So yeah, some of the lessons, you find that there is need for harmonization of approaches. So different organizations have different targeting methodologies, but there is need to standardize. Communication is very important. The need for different communication channels. Then in terms of the water management, there is need for community involvement, the training of the water point committees, pump minders, and so forth. I'll just turn to my last slide. Around how best we are going to disseminate some of these findings to make sure that this conversation we carry it forward. So we plan to hold meetings with a number of government departments as well as other partners. We plan to distribute an email to Start Network members as well as the government as well. And we are planning for a stakeholder event that we plan to organize in order for us to be able to share the findings with the wider platform. Thank you very much. I think this is the long and short of it. Over.
Thank you, Gospel. Now, I think I'll just give people time to see if they have any questions rather than popping it in the Slido. Just pop it in the chat if there's any questions for the last two presenters. Or feel free to unmute. Just give it a minute. Maybe as people wait. Oh, okay, perfect. No. Shadin asked a question. What was the strategy behind targeting Gwando and Matobo districts? Over to you, go. Maybe Gospel.
Thank you very much. So I'm not sure whether is it the strategy around the implementation of the anticipatory actions or the study in itself. Maybe would you please clarify? Because if it's the implementation of the anticipatory, okay, you can come in.
I asked about anticipatory action.
Sorry, come again.
Oh, I asked about anticipatory action, actually.
Okay, thank you very much. So like I've already indicated, these two districts, in terms of climate-induced shocks, they are some of the most prone districts to climate-induced shocks. So they fall in what I have already mentioned to say it's they fall in region 5 of Zimbabwe. And in terms of issues like water availability, we have the most challenges coming from these two districts around water availability. We also have big shocks around your El Nino induced drought. For example, last year, there were some of the hardest hit districts where you have a number of, I can't remember the percentages offhand, but a number of households, more than 50% of the households food insecure due to an El Nino-induced drought, which hit Zimbabwe in the last previous years. So part of the anticipatory actions were mostly targeted towards these districts because of the shocks that they continuously incur within these districts. I think that was the major point there. Thank you.
Thank you, Gospel, and thank you, Shadin, for the question. I think we're running out of time, so I'll just verbally share the next steps, but also wanted to say thank you all so much for taking the time and also preparing these presentations. Please do share with us your presentation so that we can circulate it to the group, as I think there's a lot of rich information there. In terms of next steps, we just wanted to let you know we will be kind of publishing a blog in May to highlight some of the key learnings and achievements you've had. So we'll keep you in the loop for that and also include you in the links that we share. We are also happy to reshare any of your final outputs as well. So if you have, if you're active on social media, just keep us in the loop. We'll make sure that we'll send all of this over email as well so that it's very clear. And lastly, this learning grant workshop will also be uploaded on YouTube. As mentioned, if you're not comfortable with that, please do drop us a line. It's totally fine. And in the next week or so, you will probably be hearing from us about a feedback form, as well as any kind of follow-ups for reporting kind of things. But anyway, thank you so much. I hope this has been as valuable of a kind of webinar learning exchange as it has been for us. And yeah, please do keep in touch and let us know if there's any kind of next steps that you would like us to do as well. Thank you all for your time and have a good rest of your day or evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.